Hola clase, hoy vamos a discutir tapas y siesta. I'm really excited today to talk about the Spanish lifestyle with you. After my recent visit, it reminded me why I fell in love with the Spanish lifestyle and why it's so easy to do that. So you have to taste a culture to understand it. Another reason that I love learning Spanish is that it's experiential learning. You learn by doing. And a part about learning a language is learning the culture. And a part of culture is learning food. So what a better way to learn something than eat food? So that's one of the reasons I also love teaching Spanish so much, because it's a pretty easy combination to do. So hoy vamos a discutir el día típico en España. Today we're going to talk about the typical lifestyle in Spain. And remember, it varies depending on if you live in una ciudad, in a city, or if you live in el campo, you live in the country. But for typically el desayuno, breakfast is a las 8 más o menos. It's at 8 o'clock more or less. And it would be something very small, such as a café, un yogur, quizás un pastry. So you have a pastry, a yogurt, a coffee. Usually then you'll go to work for a couple hours. You return home for el almuerzo, lunch. Normalmente alrededor a la una, sometimes around 1 o'clock, could be a little bit later. And this is going to be your largest meal of the day. So in this photo, we have the traditional Spanish plate of paella. And so they eat their largest meal in the middle of the day. Usually people would come home from work, students come home from school, you eat with your family, and then afterwards, depending on what you have going on, you might be able to take a siesta, anywhere from a 20 to 30-minute nap, and then you go back to work, kids go back to their school activities. It just varies depending on the person. Around 8 o'clock later in the evening is when they eat their dinner, and usually something called tapas is an integral part of the social aspect of the Spanish lifestyle, which we'll be talking about today. So you have la cena, and that's usually around 8, 9 o'clock at night. And one of the reasons in general why it's so much later in Spain, and being reminded this, being there recently, the sun sets really late, and so it's still light at 10 o'clock at night. And so our day was just much later. We got up later. It was hotter in the afternoons, and so we went indoors and took our siesta. And then the evenings, it would still be light at 10 o'clock at night, so we'd be strolling the streets. And so that really also sets the pace for the type of lifestyle they have. Everything is influenced when the weather is applying to it as well. So siesta is something that has gone on for a lot of decades in Spain, but is fluid and is changing. But to give you an idea of what a siesta is, it's the practice of that comes from the post-Civil War period in Spain, when many people worked 2 jobs as a result of a poor economic situation. Normally, one job was in the morning and the other in the evening, so the middle day break was meant for resting between the jobs or traveling from one workplace to another, also allowing for that large meal so you could get enough stamina to do your second job. Another reason that siesta existed, especially in the south of Spain, it was historically taken during the hottest hours of the day by people who worked in farming. Until the mid-20th century, many Spaniards worked in agricultural work where the siesta was common. Taking a post-lunch break was vital to avoiding the scorching midday heat. I just was recently in Granada in June, and the temperatures were 100 degrees. It gets even hotter than that by the time July comes. I've been in Sevilla in the south of Spain. I worked a summer in July. It would get up to 117 degrees. And honestly, that's when I really got siesta, because there's nothing else you can do except take a nap because it is just too hot. And so it also depends on the person. Maybe you don't have time to take a nap, but with the elderly and children, a nap after lunch is something that is still common in Spain. Siesta hoy en día, naps today. However, with the urbanization of Spain, the siesta becomes less and less a part of the people's daily routine. As people moved to the cities to find work, there was simply no time to come home from the office for a quick snooze. While the stereotype of siesta persists, most Spaniards rarely, if ever, get to enjoy one. Only 60% of Spaniards never have a siesta. These day, weekends are usually the only time when they might indulge in a quick post-lunch nap. So just to give you that, I still think 40% of Spanish people napping is a really good number. And I know for me, my personal experience, because I was in the south of Spain and Granada, my family practiced napping. And so I would come home from school, and usually around 1:30 we'd have our biggest meal. And then my Spanish parents, they would take a nap for 30 to 60 minutes. I would do the same thing. At first, I was really American and decided that I go run at the park every day. And then I realized that taking naps was way better. And so it did not take me long to get into this slow flow life pace. And actually the same thing kind of happened when we recently returned. It just is a slower way of going about everything. And it's not that the Spanish don't work hard. They work very, very hard. But how their day is set up is just a much more leisurely pace. And that's just my opinion. Obviously, there can be a whole bunch of different opinions on this topic. The next part that I'm going to get to is tapas. This is also an integral part of the social lifestyle in Spain because they eat dinner a little bit later, around 8 or 9 at night. And remember, I told you it's still light at this time, and so you don't feel nearly as tired. Tapas are an appetizer. And so here you guys see gambas, which are shrimp, and la tortilla española, which is eggs and potato. And there's a couple different variations, but basically that's what the tortilla española is. So what I'm going to do, you guys, I'm going to show you this video that I made recently when I was in Spain. I had this awesome opportunity to be in Madrid on a Saturday night when the neighborhood was just booming, doing their thing, eating tapas. And so it was so fun for me to be walking down these streets to show you guys like what it's like to do tapas in Madrid on a Saturday night, how popular it is. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about it a little bit.
And in this video, we will be exploring the tapas culture in Spain. In Madrid, it's a movable feast for dinner. Tapas are a time-honored tradition of going from one bar to the next, eating, drinking, and socializing. It is an integral part of the Spanish culture as they combine delicious food and spending time with friends into one. This Madrid neighborhood is bustling on a Saturday night as locals of all ages come out to their favorite bars to enjoy small bites of food, a beverage, and good company. What are tapas exactly? Tapas are small portions of food eaten between or before meals with a drink, which is more often than not alcoholic. A standard order would be a small glass of beer or wine, and with that order comes a tapa. Sometimes there will be a menu to choose from, but you will often just be given whatever has been prepared that day. In some parts of Spain, the tapas are free, but that is not the case everywhere. Tapas in Spain vary upon region, but some common ones are pulpo, papas bravas, croquetas, la tortilla española, calamari, y gambas.
It's given whatever has been. Que sabroso. It makes me hungry just watching that video, especially that last one with the shrimp. It is soaked in butter and garlic, and it is delicioso. And so how do tapas work? It is a movable feast, and you go from bar to bar, depending on what tapas are being served. And so how this works is you order a beverage, and with each beverage comes a tapa. And sometimes you will have your choice by using a menu, but other times you just have to eat what's been prepared for you. And so depending on what's being prepared for you, that is why you do bar hopping, because each bar has its own specialty. So for example, if I order un vino tinto, with it might come a small charcuterie board. Los olivos son muy populares. Olives are so popular in Spain because that's where olive trees grow. And so unfortunately, I am not a huge fan of olives. I was sad every single time they put them down in front of me because nobody at my table liked them. And so they always went to waste, which was really sad because I know that people love olives. They would love these ones. And so every single time it's different. And you might not always like it. And so I always just say, do your best. If you at least try it, and then if you don't like it, that's a whole nother thing, but at least go for it. So you could even order a non-alcoholic drink like a Coca-Cola, and with it might come pulpo. You might get French fries. You might get small little cheeseburgers. One of my favorites is papas bravas, and that is with potatoes and a kind of a spicy sauce on top. You may also go to a place where you can pick and choose. In the north of Spain, tapas are called pinchos because these little toothpicks are pinchos, and they'll count them up, and afterwards you'll pay for how many you ate. And so it might be, let's say you have 5 sticks, you'll pay $5, and you can pick ones that you would like to eat, which might make it better for you. Also, in the south of Spain, you don't pay. So usually you don't get to pick what you have, but it's going to be free. And so it's a very, very inexpensive way to spend your evening. You might spend $4 on your glass of beer, and then you're going to get a free tapa. And so it is a great way to socialize and spend time with family and friends. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson today on Las Tapas. Be sure to check out the other videos that I posted under this lesson. Anthony Bourdain does a great short video on his experience doing tapas in Granada, and I have a couple other ones so you guys can really have a better feel for what this social tradition is like in Spain. Well, que tenga buen día y nos vemos pronto. Ciao.